So as usual, I'm going to wait for a couple more people to come in here. While I'm waiting for that, I'm going to be straightening up some of my office a little bit, because I just have a major mess. So once a few people get in here, I will start. These need to go in the drawer over here. Okay, we have 3, so I'm going to start here soon. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about today is about using your brain and not senselessly heat gunning chips on the board because that's what you think the issue is. So, you know, I've been seeing this, you know, fairly often, where it's not just on the cell phone repair groups, but when they say, oh, it's not turning on, it's the GPU. Well, it might be the GPU. But that doesn't mean get a heat gun and just burn the chip for no reason. You need to diagnose and find out if it's a chip to begin with. You know, you shouldn't be just thinking it's the chip and then going and heat gunning it, because oftentimes it's not the chip, and by doing that you just burn the board. You just burn the chip, and that chip is going to fail. So, not turning on when your graphics chip fails. It's possible. It's not all that common. It can happen. But before jumping to heat gunning stuff, diagnose first. Measure your power rails. See why it's not turning on first. If all your power rails are good and you believe it's a GPU issue, fine. Heat it up a little bit. But don't just use that as your first diagnosis method. So hopefully we have sound here. Yeah, we do. So I'm not gonna, talk about this person directly, but it was on a Facebook group, and this person had a 2004 or 2012 not turning on, and he assumed right away it's the GPU. It's the GPU right away. This is not a good mindset to be in, because you do not know it's a GPU right away. Just because one computer is affected, or just because that model is known for a certain issue, doesn't mean that one's going to have it. Okay, just like saying, let's say you have a 2012 A1286 or whatever that has graphics issues, it's not always the GPU. It could be other things. Blaming the graphics chip for something not turning on, jumping right to it, and not checking other rails, then that's not practical. If you don't rule out other things, you don't know if it's your graphics chip. And to jump right to the graphics chip without having gone through and checked anything else, that's just not okay. And here's another thing. Okay, let's say you do heat gun your graphics chip and it doesn't work. So you've burned that chip now. Now that chip is not going to last. That chip is usually no good. If you burn it to the point of, a lot of times what you'll see in the substrates, could get one. So you'll see they turn kind of a brownish. Let me. It'll be really hard to see on the camera, but they turn kind of a brown. It's not it's from heat. So that's a key sign. If you see the chip is brown and has bubbles around the edges, that's a key sign that someone's heat gunned it. So this, someone could continually told me, oh, it's just the GPU. I know it's a GPU because it's not turning on. It just has to be GPU. It doesn't have to be the GPU. Without measuring your rails, without going through, you do not know it's a GPU. It's really hard to diagnose boards across the internet. It can be done if you have measurements. If a person has a multimeter is giving you measurements, it's possible to diagnose a board over the internet. But just to go purely based off of just symptoms alone and not measure anything and automatically blame the graphics chip and then tell you you're wrong because you're disagreeing with them, that's not right. You do not know what is wrong with the board without measuring anything. It's just dumb. So it's only been 6 minutes here. Pretty much covered what I wanted to cover. This will be a very short stream. I just wanted to just talk about that a little bit. That even with, and I've seen this also with other repair shops that say, oh, it just needs a reflow. All it needs is a reflow. No, it's not. It doesn't need a reflow. The issue is in the bumps in the chip, not the solder balls. Reflowing it will make it work for a short amount of time. For example, in this MacBook Pro, reflowing only lasted less than a day. Okay, reflowing is nonsense. You do not reflow. As diagnostic method, and the reflowing should not be your first diagnostic method by any means. It should be your last. When you can't figure out what's wrong and a good part of your brain is telling you this is maybe a graphics chip issue, fine, give it a light reflow. That's only as a diagnostic method. That's not a solution. That's not your first diagnosis method. To go through and check the rails should be your first, not jump to reflowing the graphics chip. That's just nonsense. So I'm pretty much, I think I covered what I wanted to cover. So I'll stick around for just a little bit longer. I think not many people are talking in the live chat, so but I just wanted to explain that, especially to newcomers, that reflowing should not be your first diagnosis method. It should be your very last after all other methods of diagnostics have been exhausted. I'm sure you guys catch what I'm saying, that are experienced in board repair. Because another thing, with someone inexperienced, he guns that chip, and then you work on it, you fix it as dead ISL or dead current sensing resistor, and it works, and then 30 days later they call you back and says, oh, well, now it has video issues. Well, I wonder why it has video issues, because you burned the chip and it wasn't the chip. Now you'd think that sometimes people would learn from the 2011s and the 2012s that actually had GPU issues. You think they'd learn to not heat gun stuff right away, but oh well. I guess not everyone is going to retain knowledge, but it is what it is. So on top of that, I'm going to end the stream, and I hope that you learned something by this about not to reflow graphics chips. Well, like I said, as a diagnostic method, after all other methods have been exhausted, it should be your last step to diagnose if it's a graphics chip. But to just do it right away to see if it's a graphics chip, that's not right, and that's not the way to do it by any means. So thank you all for watching, and have a good night.